Good afternoon, everyone. It's Sunday, October 26, 2025, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Champaign, Illinois. You're watching Co-op for Two. My name is Jesse. You're joining me today for the third letter in a Dear Holmes case called Return of the Ripper. This is a part of a practice case series that the company has put out, which basically just means it's a very old case that's been re-released. We had to skip last weekend because I was sick, so it's been a while since we've played this case. We're going to do a little bit of a recap, walk through the letters, remind ourselves of where we are. And then there's two more letters after this. There's one more letter of clues, and then a solution from Sherlock Holmes. That intro you saw with some weird scenes in it is thanks to Rob, who's in the channel with us today, who used AI to make some Halloween versions of some of those intro segments. Let's do a little bit of scheduling and bookkeeping before we get started here. Yesterday, we finished the third session of a game called Mockery Manor, which was really extraordinarily good and funny and just a real surprise, pleasant surprise. And so that makes me feel like our Halloween October, where we try to play spooky games, it's off to a little bit of a rough start, but it sort of redeemed itself, and it has been a very fun month. The channel has hit a milestone of 5,000 subscribers after 5 years. Whether that's good or bad, I'll leave that for the universe to decide. But it is a fun occasion, and we've been celebrating it by streaming every day for the last week or so. Probably almost 24 hours of live streams in the last week. That will continue again tomorrow, Monday evening, when we play through the final and fourth part of a print and play escape room called Secret of Langton Manor, which has a really creepy vibe to it. And then I think what we'll do is we will take Tuesday and Wednesday off. And then Thursday, October 30th, and Friday, October 31st, Halloween proper, those 2 days, Thursday and Friday, we will be playing a very deluxe, creepy escape room game called Root of All Evil. I hope you can join me for that. That should be the sort of showstopper of the month. And then October will be over, and we'll go back to our regular intro and our regular schedule, which is not really a schedule, but our non-scary games. Back to some classic games. And you might notice one new one has just arrived behind me. Medical Mysteries Miami Flatline, which is the follow-up to last year's Game of the Year for me, Mystery Game of the Year. And you can see my spoiler-free review of it on the channel. All right, YouTube says 13 concurrent viewers. I don't even know why we have to say concurrent viewers. 13 viewers of the live stream. This is one of the only sessions that we do here on a regular basis, at a regular schedule. Everything else is just catch as catch can. Let's see how everyone's doing and what everyone's up to. Teresa says, anyone have plans for Halloween? You know, it's an odd thing to schedule a stream over Halloween. It's sort of like, well, Jonathan Warner's been helping schedule these, but it's an interesting question. Like, do we schedule our spookiest, most deluxe game for on Halloween? But that means anyone who has Halloween plans won't be able to make it. Or do we schedule it for near Halloween? And then anyone who doesn't have plans for Halloween doesn't have something to keep them company. And I think when in doubt choosing between those, I'd rather have the small audience of people who don't have other plans and want to share the holiday with a small group of people. So I'm happier that we're doing it that way. The rest of you can catch it. If you've got real life plans, that's wonderful. You can always watch the video after the fact. All right, we're not hearing any plans from anyone in the channel, so your voice regained its strength now. Well, thank God the cough is 95% gone. I do feel amazing compared to that flu, that double flu. That was really unpleasant. All right, let's take a look at where we left off. Return of the Ripper. The reason this case is called Return of the Ripper is because what we've been called to help with is what appears to be a grisly murder and a tribute to Jack the Ripper. We get told about this man, this foreigner, Hugo Olsen, a Swede. We get told a little bit about his background. He likes to drink. He's a carpenter. He's just come to town. And he sees someone following him. He tells the police. They don't do anything. His landlord knocks on the door. Someone screams out at him, "Go away, I'm sick." He goes away. He realizes that doesn't sound like that guy's voice. He gets his key. He unlocks the door, and the whole room is covered in blood. When they investigate it, they find a severed hand under the bed, missing a finger. They find an earlobe, and they find a letter in the dresser that looks like it's someone pretending to be Jack the Ripper or a fan of Jack the Ripper. It's written in broken English, but it's basically about someone saying they ate this guy or something, signed from hell. A very grisly scene here. On the next letter, which is the only other letter we read, let's do a little bit of a recap together so we can remember it. So our first letter arrived, it was written November 6th. The second letter written the same day by Inspector Lestrade, who realizes, hey, I forgot to tell you some stuff, or the case is developing very quickly. They located several of his past employers before he moved here. We've confirmed he's a carpenter, but his previous jobs, he did not last long. Why is that? He was often late, and when he was on time, he was drunk. So a few weeks each position. Interesting to note that when he did arrive at work, he often smelled of chemicals. We asked them, what do you mean by that? They said, well, it kind of smelled like varnish, or like the people who prepare a dead body for a funeral. Very telling clue. Then they discover something else. He's taken out a rather large insurance policy. Who took it out? For £5,000. That's a huge amount. Next of kin. And we are told he has a brother. Let's see. We, along with the insurance company, are in the process of locating the brother, who should be in Paddington. Now, they're looking for his body. They can't find it, but they have inspected the hand and the earlobe. They say the earlobe and the hands were not hacked off. In other words, they were like surgically removed. Whoever took off the hand, it was done with some skill, like perhaps a doctor. And the earlobe seems to have been removed by a different method, but probably, again, a scalpel, something very sharp that maybe a doctor would have. Because of this, they say they're reminded of Whitechapel and Jack the Ripper, who there was lots of theories might have been a doctor because he seemed to have anatomical knowledge and have carved up and removed organs from prostitutes in a way that made people think he might be a doctor. If you're curious about the Jack the Ripper case, lots of theories about who that might have done it. There are several movies, but the graphic novel that I am most fond of is called From Hell. Has anyone read From Hell? It's black and white, a big tome of a graphic novel. Very creepy, very dark, and very cool. Okay, back to our case. He says, okay, so this scalpel and stuff fits with the theories of Jack the Ripper, that he might have a medical background. Based on that, they've started to investigate people, local people, that might have medical backgrounds that seem suspicious. Olson's murderer, while having some similarities to the original Whitechapel, is most likely an imposter. They don't think it's actually Jack the Ripper. They think it's an imposter trying to recreate the killings. Some differences in MO. For example, the body's missing, just a couple parts. So they're trying to search out the remains. They haven't found them yet. Even if the letter's telling the truth that he ate this person, which doesn't make that much sense. But we should be able to find, even so, his clothes have to be somewhere. We believe the killer may have crammed the corpse into a trunk or a sack and left the property with them. They'll let us know when they find anything. Inspector Lestrade, is checking out hospitals now to find a suspect. Doctors who can't account for their time. And they found one. Lestrade gets a helper, Hawthorne, and they go looking. And when they get to the hospital, the patrol cop who's helping Lestrade is handsome, and all the ladies take to him and start spilling all their gossip. And they say, hey, we do have a doctor here at the hospital who's suspicious. And his name is Dr. Abradon. Why is he so suspicious? He's worked here for a decade. He's got his medical license from King's College. He's described as a working, brutish man, bushy eyebrows, sloped shoulders, somewhat shuffling gait. So he looks weird, he looks suspicious, primitive. And he's known at the hospital for having an unpredictable temperament, not befitting a normal doctor. He's often quite quiet, keeps to himself, and then a minor issue throws him into a rage. He kicks over furniture, shouts at the staff. It is his dark moods that have repeatedly caused Dr. Aberdon to be overlooked for promotion. And then he never sought a promotion, however. He's content just staying where he was. Again, suspicious for a doctor, I guess. He never became violent enough to be fired from the hospital. In fact, it sounds as though his violent temperament is only flares up a few times a year. Now, when they talk to people who know him, they find out, well, he really he's got lots of vices. He drinks heavily, he gambles, and he goes to illicit houses of women. One of his colleagues said he had gone gambling with Aberdon on a few occasions after finishing a late shift. And he says he likes cards, but nothing like this Aberdon, who tosses a week's pay in a simple night, being so drunk as not to remember what happened to the money. And he says, in fact, he noticed a change in Dr. Aberdon's behavior over the last month. Abaddon had been much less volatile and it seemed happier. And on the night of 5th of November, when our victim disappears, gets killed, he says both Abaddon and Nelson worked a day shift. Nelson asked Abaddon about the change in his mood, and Abaddon looks around to make sure no one's listening and started whispering. He said, "Tonight, everything changes for me. Listen." And then he was going to tell him, it seems, but they were interrupted. And this is the night that our guy gets killed, disappears. We don't think he was actually killed, but I'm jumping ahead here. They did night shifts at the end of November. It's possible he could have been the man watching Olson. So we get told early on, as I told you, that someone was watching our victim and he reported them to the police. And they're saying, well, Abaddon would have had the time to do it. And they don't know if he owns this deerstalker cap that the person watching Hugo Olson was seen wearing. Okay, we're currently searching for him. So they're searching for the doctor because the doctor doesn't work until tomorrow evening. This is, again, just the night after. So they're still trying to locate the doctor. They've got someone stationed outside his house. And then they're talking to the brothels that the doctor frequents. Lestrade really seems zeroed in on this doctor. The doctor seems to be an unlikely suspect, though. Besides his outbursts, he has no known history of violence. He's also not made any known prejudicial statements against foreigners. The change in demeanor is worth investigating. I shall have more to share with you soon. And then he says, on a final note, Inspector Porter is having a few of the men question the butchers and undertakers in the area. As you know, it has been theorized that Jack the Ripper could have been a butcher because of the skill used in the precise cuts to the victims. And an undertaker also has some skill with surgical tools. All right, now we noticed that and thought from a meta perspective, it fits in a little bit better with our theory. So here's our theory. Our theory is that Hugo Olson, the Swede, is not dead. That he staged this fake death scene so that he can claim the insurance money. And what the chat was onto quite early, is that this scene is a little over the top. The room is covered in blood. There's even blood on the ceiling, but it doesn't look like there are any bloody footprints. And the note is already in the dresser at the other end of the room. You would think there would be some footprints. So we think that Hugo Olson has gotten hold of some animal blood and a human hand and ear from a funeral home or a place where he's buying illegal dead bodies, which was a thing in Victorian England to be used by medical hospitals for training people on cadavers. So we think that Hugo Olson may have been doing illegal business, buying dead bodies, and maybe, I don't think we read it today in our recap, but don't we think he's involved in some illegal stuff? I thought we learned that at some point about his past. I mean, he smelled like embalming fluid. So we think that what he's doing is, on the side, he's trading dead bodies. He's buying from doctors or buying them from graveyards and selling them to doctors, something like that. And that's what's let him stage this scene and disappear. And then he's going to try to claim the insurance money. So there are a couple things we don't know, though. We don't know who the man was following them. Now, it could just be a complete red herring. I was thinking that it was a detective with the deer stalker that was trying to catch him. But in that case, we thought, why would he go to the police? He would know that he's on the lam and fleeing, and that the detective is investigating him probably. So probably wouldn't have gone to the police. Maybe the person following them is the doctor, is his brother, just making it look like he's being followed to add some believability to his death. Or the deer stalker could in fact be the doctor that we're hearing about, the doctor who has lots of money and who says to his friend, tonight's everything going to change. So another unknown is whether this doctor that they think might be the suspect is actually someone that Hugo Olsen is selling or trading body parts with or getting body parts from, and he actually is involved in this, but not committing murder, but rather in this money-making fraud scheme, perhaps even in the fraudulent insurance thing. You could imagine that our guy Hugo Olsen makes friends with this doctor at one of these drinking establishments gambling, and he says, look, you get me a hand and an earlobe, I'm going to commit this insurance fraud, I'll give you £1,000. I mean, that's pretty exciting for this doctor to get the money. No one actually gets killed, it's just fraud. The other little detail that the group here was quick to seize on, which is quite clever, is the missing finger of the hand. And we think perhaps it's because it's an identifiable feature, and that's why he had to get rid of it. All right, so that's where we are. Is that a sufficient recap? Have I forgotten anything? What I think is interesting from a meta perspective is the game is like, we're going to talk to butchers and embalmers and undertakers because there were some theories that Jack the Ripper might have been a butcher and an embalmer, but we think that this is just a little clever way of the game getting ready to reveal to us that someone bought a large quantity of pig's blood, or someone trades dead body parts, etc. So this is just going to be, it's not going to turn out that the suspect was a killer who's a butcher, but it's going to be that the butcher and the undertaker are going to have information that's useful to us. All right, so before we read today's letter, anything else anyone wants to add to the recap? Any other unresolved questions, etc.? What is everyone drinking today? Today I have a cup of the Mexican Chiapas, which is probably my favorite coffee from this local roaster, Mad Goat. Sort of a lightish, very nutty flavor. Groot says, I have tea. I have some tea here too. My little co-op for 2 mug. I was thinking maybe for the 5-year anniversary and celebration of 5,000 subscribers, we should try to find a way to get some of the co-op for 2 mugs and espresso cups out to our loyal viewers. Maybe we can have a little fundraiser to pay for that. Cold Apple Tango. Okay, so there's a clue that Groot probably lives in England or Europe, because we do not have tango here in America. Marlene says the doctor would have access to blood too. It's true. I suppose the doctor would have access to human blood. That's a good point. If it turned out to be human blood, that wouldn't break our theories. It would just make it more likely that he has to have a connection who's a doctor. It is a little odd that a doctor would sign up for this kind of fraud. Doctors get paid quite well. although not as much back in Victorian England, as the doctors here in America have figured out, the whole healthcare system here in America has figured out how to just suck the money out of the entire country. These doctors and hospitals are getting rich. I don't know how they've managed to pull it off. All right, nothing else from the chat about the recap. I guess we will get started then. Root says, I do love a new mug. And that is correct. I'm in the UK. I didn't know the US didn't have Tango. Yeah, it is a little weird. I mean, all these companies seem to own each other, so it wouldn't be surprising if the company that does Tango just makes similar things in America. We have a couple of orange soda brands in America. We have Sunkist, we have Fanta. I think those are the main ones. Joe J. Anderson says, I'm on a delayed train without servings, but I have water with me. All right. Let me not get tempted to write on this. Okay, here we go. Letter number 3 of 5. This one is dated November 8th, 2 days later. Okay, let's see if there are developments. Dear Mr. Holmes, we have had several developments with the Ripper case. One development further implicates Dr. Abradan. After waiting 48 hours, Inspector Morton received permission to search Abradan's residence. The doctor resides in a quaint 2-room flat located on the first floor of a tenement building. Upon entering the doctor's rooms, Morton quickly ascertained that Abradan had fled. The bureau drawers were emptied, apparently hastily, as some were scattered about the floors. Hangers were so strewn about, and the closet door was left wide open. The hangers were also strewn about. On the dining table was an open bottle of champagne, half empty. No glass was found next to the bottle, but we did find some traces of shards on the floor, indicating that a glass had dropped and shattered. Also, no trash container was in the flat. It is possible that Abradan's garbage receptacle had some of the evidence from Olson's murder, and that he had discarded the evidence before it could be discovered. Of further interest was a discovery made under Abradan's bed, for there we found a full theatrical makeup kit. It was heavily used, with antimony, carmine red, and mascara the most emptied. Traces of India ink and burnt coal were discovered on the exterior of the kit, but none of the product remained. Upon further examination, strands of hair were also discovered. Some of the hair was heavily dyed black, possibly coming from the good doctor. We also found long strands of blonde hair, dyed ginger. We have also interviewed several of the workers at the gambling dens and brothels the doctor was known to frequent. It appears the doctor had stopped frequenting the establishments in early October. There was a rumor he owed money from a night he had lost badly at cards, and the doctor had enough good sense to stop gambling until he had paid off the debt. Due to the doctor working odd hours, very few of his fellow tenants saw him, and those who did had nothing to report. The only report of note was made by a Mr. Bursgard, who said he saw Abradan leave the room around midnight, about a week prior to the disappearance, with a young gentleman dressed in a top hat and fine coat. While there is nothing unusual about two men going off at the midnight hour, it has been speculated around the force that this young man was the individual to whom Dr. Abradan was indebted. It is possible that the man could have received his payment from the good doctor. It is also possible that the man was an associate of the doctor who was taking him to a new gambling den we have yet to discover. Indeed, if the doctor changed his routines but not his habits, we may discover that he had never stopped visiting women or gambling, but simply he changed his locations. There is, of course, the possibility that the good doctor altered his habits because he found a new vice, a most evil one. One theory we are exploring is that the doctor, for some reason, decided to take up the mantle of Jack the Ripper. He disguised himself in a wig, deerstalker hat, and high-collared coat and began roaming the streets of Whitechapel looking for a victim. He found one in the form of Olson. The theory continues that Dr. Abradan then somehow entered Olson's residence. Perhaps he knocked on the door and was allowed inside. Perhaps the door had been left unlocked and the man was able to enter undetected. When Olson returned from dinner at the pub, he was quickly subdued and slaughtered. The doctor then butchered the man's body, possibly truly eating his flesh. He also left a note to tell the world of his crime, typical of a horrific braggart. At one point, he was interrupted by Smith. He disguised his voice and told Smith, "Go away." After Smith left, Abradan then removed the remains of Olson, possibly in a large trunk or sack. We still believe he did dump what was left of Olson somewhere close by, yet we have not discovered any further remains. Abradan then returned to his residence. It is possible along the way he became remorseful of what he had done, or he panicked. Believing that he would most certainly be caught, perhaps a combination of the two. When the doctor returned home, he drank a glass of wine to steady his nerves, but was unsuccessful, hence the broken glass. Fearing that he had something and would eventually be caught, the doctor then hastily packed up his belongings and left the premises, hoping to disappear into the world. Please know, Mr. Holmes, I do not adhere fully to this theory. I believe the police are so intent on catching the villain that they are twisting facts to meet their proposed sequence of events. The second development involves a man who, in my opinion, may be a more likely suspect. His name is Midthothian. He's a former surgeon who worked at Bart's. Midthothian started out at Bart's and had a paper published in the Leeds Journal of Medicine on alterating female hysteria through incisions in the prefrontal cortex. When the doctor's name began to rise to prominence, a number of surgeons questioned two findings and methods. Indeed, it was discovered that some of the patients did not survive the medical procedure. Others were mortally crippled. Others were something crippled, mentally crippled. An inquest was held against the young doctor, and his behavior before the medical board did not help his cause. The man was noted for his wild white hair, unusual for such a young age, and an odd high-pitched giggling at inopportune moments, and his slender physique. He also tapped his fingers together incessantly and often was heard muttering shockingly uncouth words beneath his breath. During the inquest, the doctor referred to his female patients as mere swine slaughtered in the name of science. He argued progress had to be made and that the lesser classes, like slaves in the past, were ripe for experimentation. The man apparently giggled loudly when shown photographs of the deceased women. When a description of one of the women seriously injured by his surgery was presented as evidence, the doctor dismissed it, suggesting that perhaps the woman's husband preferred her in this almost catatonic state. The board had Mithosian's medical license revoked, and he lost the title of doctor. The man is now an undertaker and owns a funeral home located a few blocks from Olson's former residence. Mithosian is a hunter who spends his free time in the country shooting deer and pheasant. A few nearby residents say they saw him wearing a deerstalker hat, probably after returning from a hunting trip. You will recall that the man Olson reported watching him wore a deerstalker hat as well. Other witnesses reported a young, fair-haired man who was seen around Mithosian's home. The man matched the description of Olson. Mr. Mithosian has been interviewed by the police, and it ends up that he had hired Mr. Olson on occasion to construct coffins when he had excessive amounts of work. He said Olson was a good worker and he had no problems with him. Working for Mithosian could explain the chemical smell reported by Olson's co-workers. Mithosian claims he was at home the night of the murder and that he never left that night. He could not offer any witnesses to corroborate his story. He defended himself by saying he could not have anything against foreigners, that his mother was Swedish, and that he still had family in Sweden. That is one of the reasons he hired Olson, because of their shared ancestry. We plan on questioning the man further tomorrow. We have made no further progress on discovering any of Olson's remains. Where are the man's bones or clothes? Perhaps Mr. Mithosian will shed some light on the subject, or Dr. Aberdan if we ever find him. For now, I must bid you adieu, Mr. Holmes. I shall write when I have more information. Sincerely, Inspector G. Lestrade. All right, so nothing that contradicts our theories, but now we've got two more people that seem wrapped up in this, and a separate little mystery involving Dr. Aberdan's disappearance and broken champagne glass. Let's see what the chat has to say about all this. Is the blood human or not? We still don't know. It's hard for them to type blood, apparently. So they found this crazy doctor, and he's directly connected with Olson. And he certainly seems like he's up to no good working with dead bodies. So the question then is the doctor in any way related to our case? Or is he a complete red herring? So we have motive for him to maybe be working with our guy Hugo. And we've got information that he may have owed a lot of money. So that would be motive for him getting involved in some illegal, fraudulent activity, either with body parts or insurance fraud. And he's got a disguise kit, which is very suspicious. But why would you need two accomplices? If you've got someone that can give you the dead bodies, why do you need two accomplices? Why do you need the doctor's help if you're Olson? Is it possible that it's just a total red herring? But he seemed to be saying that he was going to come into money, that things are changing. And he's had champagne and glass broke and then hastily fled his place. Those are weird. That's a weird combination. Like hastily fled because he owes money, yes. But then what's going on with the champagne glass? That clearly someone has gathered up the evidence in his place and disposed of it. The trash bin is empty. There's no sign of broken glass. So I guess the real biggest question for me here is, what is the role of Dr. Abaddon? The crazy undertaker doctor, I mean, he just seems like, I just feel like he's just working with Hugo. But why has Dr. Abaddon got a disguise kit? And where are the broken shards of glass? If he was off in a hurry, why go through all the trouble to carefully dispose of the glass? And then there's some details about the disguise kit that are a little fine-grained for me. Black dyed hair, blonde hair dyed ginger. I mean, this doctor is not traveling around the way Hugo Olson is. He's worked there quite a while. So this could be a total red herring. He could owe money. He could have the disguise kit just so he could go and gamble without being noticed by the person he owes money to. And we're told at the end that he's seen by someone. Let's see. The only report of note was Mr. Beauregard, who saw Abaddon leave about midnight a week prior to the disappearance with a young man with a man in a top hat. And then we're told by the police think that man he was with might be the one he owed money to. I just don't know if Abaddon is involved in our case or if it's a total red herring. On the dining table was an open bottle of champagne, half empty, no glass. but traces of shards. So you could have been having champagne with one other person, and it fell and broke. Maybe you're captured, maybe you're not. Maybe you're involved in the fraud. A full theatrical makeup kit, heavily used. Whenever you see a makeup kit, you think Sherlock Holmes is here. But I don't know if that's the case. Why would Sherlock Holmes leave his disguise kit here? Under his bed. And then this other guy, this disgraced doctor, sounds absolutely insane. And he does have a deerstalker hat. This is the guy who's more likely to be working with him, but I don't know what Abaddon's role in this is. Any theories about Abaddon's role? What was Abaddon's description like? He was brutish with big bushy eyebrows and looked very primitive. Is it possible disguise kit was used by Midlothian to disguise himself as Abaddon? It doesn't work because Abaddon has worked at the hospital for years and years. So, and he's got a good temper and he doesn't act crazy. He just occasionally flies into a rage against people. So I don't think there's any way it could be Midlothian. Perry says, I don't know how he could afford a £5,000 insurance policy. I suppose it depends how long you have the policy. If the policy is brand new, you just have to afford the first payment. What if the doctor was involved in the horrible experiments? I don't think so. I think this Abaddon doctor is actually a good doctor. Maybe Olsen found out wanted to blackmail Midlothian. I don't think you can blackmail this crazy guy. Abaddon is a real doctor. He's a real surgeon. He's been working for years at the hospital. So, no. What we have here is Abaddon is a real doctor who likes to gamble, and he's found himself in debt. So the only question is whether what we've got here is a story that it's a complete red herring. He's in debt. He's trying to disguise himself so that his debtors don't find him and catch him. So he's got a disguise kit so he can walk around without being recognized. Doesn't seem like that's likely to work because surely his debtors know where he lives and know where he works. So there's that. And then there's the fact that the doctor, right before he disappeared and right before our guy disappears, was telling his friend, hey, everything's going to be better. So, but could he be meaning I'm going to be fleeing town rather than I'm working with this guy, Hugo Olsen, on this fraud? I don't think we have any reason to believe he's working with Olsen. If I had to guess, I'd guess he's totally unrelated to our case. That Dr. Abaddon is totally unrelated to our case. He's simply a rich doctor who is a gambling addict and is disguising himself so that he can go and gamble and won't be found by his debtors. And finally decided he had to flee town. Totally unrelated to Olsen is my guess. And then Olsen is working with this crazy guy, Midlothian, to get the blood and body parts. But it could be that the Dr. Aberdon is also involved in this insurance fraud. That I'm not sure. All right, let me know if you have any final thoughts before we wrap this session up. We will meet again in 1 week. Next Sunday, we will read, if all goes well, the final letter of clues. And then a week after that, we will listen to Sherlock Holmes's theory of the case. As always, there is a Discord for this channel, and you are welcome to stop by and discuss this case. We've got a channel on the server for our play-by-mail games. There's always some discussion going on about the latest Dear Holmes case. I'll see some of you tomorrow for part 4 of The Secret of Langton Manor. If there's some of you looking for to watch a longer mystery game, you may want to check out the Mockery Manor sessions. Lots of high quality voice acting to listen to. And we're almost done with our Creepy October. If you have some ideas for how the channel should try to celebrate 5 years and 5,000 subscribers, let me know. Let me do my normal Dear Holmes reminder here. Dear Holmes is a paid service, quite an expensive one, but you might want to consider subscribing to it yourself if you enjoy this kind of thing. It makes a great gift, that's for sure. And let's all thank the Patreon supporters of this channel that make it possible to afford the subscription to Dear Holmes. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you next time. Oh, wait, stop. Actually, I thought maybe, since this is our October special month, maybe we should play a little bit of Three Secrets. What do you think about that? Anyone want to play some Three Secrets? If enough people want to play, we'll play. Rob says bonus content. Eliza says yes, please. Marlene says yes. Groot says, I love this game. Arsene says extra time. Melissa says I'll play. All right, that's enough. We're going to play. All right, so let me remind you how... Don't give away any secrets for people who haven't read it. Let me remind you how Three Secrets work. Three Secrets is a game similar to a whole family of games called Crack the Case, Black Stories. I believe Crack the Case was the original. It's one of my favorites. It's a super cool idea. One person knows a little bit about a mystery, and everyone else tries to guess it. And they guess it by asking yes or no questions. You can't figure it out deductively by listening to clues or a story. You just have to figure out what's the best question to ask to narrow the things down. Now, most of these games, like Crack the Case and Black Stories, have a little riddle or story on the front, something like Joe had a broken ladder and he was murdered the next day. That's it. And then you ask questions. Now, Three Secrets is a little twist on it. On the face of it, I thought it wasn't going to work at all, but it's actually turned out to be quite fun for a visual medium. Crack the Case, Black Stories can be just read out loud. Everyone can sit around a room. That's a great part of it. In Three Secrets, you just have an image. You don't really need the image, but it's a little bit of a fun starting point. Everyone in this deck is a criminal. And it's all about figuring out what crime they're involved in, what their secret is. We have played these two before. And what you'll notice is there's three colored areas on each card. They're different colors based on the difficulty. Green is the easiest, then we go yellow, orange, and purple, I guess it gets even harder. There is an app and there are clues that could be asked for, but we haven't had to use those, and we don't use the app. So I guess we're going to do this one, Frank. So you can see where are his 3 green areas. I guess we see an eye is green. He's got dog tags that are green, and then this is green too. Okay, so how does this work? I put this aside. I show you this. You're going to start asking yes or no questions. You're going to try. You just ask them in the chat whenever you want, and I'll answer them as we get to them. I'll bring my little thing up in case I want to show questions on screen. Okay, but I have to read the story here in secret without you hearing it. Well, let me read this. You can get ready to start asking questions. Okay, so I have to figure out what's the story of Frank, who's a criminal of some sort or has secrets, etc. Okay. So you have three little secrets to figure out about this guy. Not necessarily a specific crime but 3 secrets you have to figure out about him. Okay, let's bring up the chat. And we can let the questions begin. Does Frank have a black eye? Yes, he does have a black eye. Does Frank have vision problems, not other than the black eye? It looks like he's squinting, doesn't it? But let's get this nice and big here. Is Frank married? Yes. Is Frank divorced? Let's say yes. Are the dog tags his? Yes. Does Frank have a facial scar on his upper lip? Unknown and irrelevant. Is Frank's wife dead? No. Do the dog tags belong to him? Yes. Is Frank a truck driver? Yes. Did his wife give Frank the black eye? No. Is that his wedding ring on the necklace? I think the answer is yes. Did his wife's lover give him the black eye? No. So the 3 green areas are related to the 3 secrets you have to figure out, but they're just sort of symbolically related. So it's not like you have to figure out why this ring is hanging here, it's just symbolically related. Is Frank active military? No. Did his wife lover give him the black eye? No. Wedding ring on the necklace? Yes. Did his mistress's husband give him the black eye? No. Is Frank related to the person that gave him the black eye? No. Is Frank hauling something illegal? No. Is the person that gave him the black eye still alive? Unknown. Does Frank owe a debt to the person who gave the black eye? No. Does Frank do drugs? Unknown and irrelevant. Is the person who gave him the black eye a former war buddy? No. Are the dog tags sentimental in value? Unknown. Is someone missing? I mean, philosophically, metaphorically, in the world, there's lots of people missing, but not related to this. Is Frank alone in the truck? Yes. Did Frank deserve that black eye? Wow, I'm not qualified to answer that. Is Frank driving home? Unknown and irrelevant. Did Frank get in a bar fight? No. Or rather, unknown and irrelevant. Is Frank working on a job site? No. Is Frank getting a divorce? Yes. I mean, he is divorced. He's getting a divorce. Yes. Clarifying, did Frank wrong the person who gave him the black eye? No. Did Frank get the black eye via a work injury? No. The best part about this game, why I find this simple game series genre so compelling, is that it sort of breaks the brain. It's very hard to get the brain out of ruts that it gets in. And it's fascinating to start to ask yourself, what questions would I ask to narrow down possibilities? It's really quite an amazing system. Did he get a black eye in an accident? No. It feels like, actually, this is the kind of thing that an AI would be good at, but humans are not that good at. But it is fascinating to test yourself against it. Was Frank kicked out of the military? I think the answer to that is yes. Yes, he was kicked out of the military. Was Frank in a fight recently? Yes. Did he fight with someone in the military? No. Or unknown, irrelevant. Is Frank AWOL? No. You've already asked if he was kicked out of the military, and the answer was yes. So he's definitely not AWOL. Did Frank fight with a man? Yes. Did he get into a fight after being kicked out of the military? No. Is Frank's wife remarrying? Unknown and irrelevant. Was Frank kicked out of the military due to health issues? No. Did Frank commit war crimes? Unknown. Did he get kicked out of the military today? No. It's a little hard to wrap your head around the what the game wants from you. I guess you might imagine, imagine you run into this guy during your day and you're trying to figure out what his 3 secrets are. You know they're somewhat related to nefarious stuff. And these are just tiny little clues to the areas where his secrets are. Did he get kicked out because of the fight? That's an odd question. I mean, no, but maybe rephrase it. Is Frank smuggling anything? No. Is Frank on drugs? Unknown and irrelevant. Is his divorce related to him being kicked out of the military? No. Did Frank kill anyone in his entire life serving in the military? Unknown and irrelevant. Was he kicked out of the military more than a year ago? Unknown and irrelevant. This is a tricky one. It's green, but I can see why it's tricky because you guys don't know exactly what you're trying to figure out. Did he steal something? No. I believe everyone is doing something illegal, but if not, they've all got secrets. Is Frank an undercover officer? No. Does Frank have a history of violence? Yes. Has he been living a double life? That's too ambiguous. Are those his own personal dog tags? Yes. Was Frank abusive to his ex-wife? Unknown and irrelevant. Is Frank a heavy drinker? Yes. Did he get his black eye while doing something illegal? Yes. Does Frank have two families? Is he a bigamist? No. Does Frank do security jobs? No. Is Frank running away from something? No. Was Frank cheating on his wife? No. Did Frank steal something? No. This is definitely a case where you probably shouldn't focus on trying to find his criminal activities so much as finding his secrets. Is his wife divorcing him because of his drinking habits? No. Does Frank's job have anything to do with the mob? No. I should clarify the answer to Arsene's question. Is his wife divorcing him because of his drinking habits? I guess I should say unknown. Does Frank have children or siblings? Unknown. Did Frank drink and drive and get in an accident? That's a good question, but no. Does Frank drink on the job? Unknown. Is Frank a gambler? No. Is he stalking his ex-wife? No. Does Frank have a criminal record? Unknown and irrelevant. Is Frank a police officer? No. Did he get in a fight in an underground boxing match? Yes. All right, so you've got one of his secrets. Was Frank drunk when he got into a fight in which he got the black eye? Unknown. But you've got one of his secrets. I guess you've got this secret. That he got into a fight in an underground boxing match, in an illegal underground boxing match. All right, so that's one of his three secrets. Rule number one, never talk about Fight Club. Talking about the famous movie Fight Club. Is Frank in need of money? I guess yes. Does he have money problems? I don't know if he has money problems. Did he kill his opponent in the match? No. I guess actually, technically, all right, let me answer these and then I'm going to clarify something. Did he kill his opponent? I said no. Is he going to another fight? Unknown. Did he win the match? Unknown and irrelevant. Okay. Was he let go of the military because of his violence? Okay, I think you've actually solved the 3 now. Yes. So he fights in illegal underground. You've solved it. Let me explain. He fights in underground illegal boxing matches. That's one mystery. Was he let go of the military because of his violence? That's his other secret. The third secret is something you actually figured out early, that his wife has left him. I guess you figured out that they were divorced. I'm not sure you actually technically figured out that she left him. But it is phrased a little weird. Let me show you. He was discharged from the army because he was too violent. Now he works as a truck driver and fights in illegal matches in order to boost his salary. When his wife left him, he started to hit the bottle. So I was trying to wait for you to get this part. But I guess when I look at this technically, it says his three secrets are: he was discharged from the army because he was excessively violent. So I guess technically you didn't have to figure out why he was discharged. The clue is that he's violent, but you were supposed to figure out that he was discharged from the army. So you actually got that a little bit earlier. And he fights in illegal matches. And then if you needed help getting that, I could have given you this clue. And then he spends more time with the bartender than at home. That was the clue I could have given you to figure out his wife left him. So this was the one you had the hardest time getting. And then I guess I made this a little harder for you. I made you figure out that he was discharged for violence, but actually you didn't have to figure that out. You were just supposed to figure out that he got discharged, and I was to give you this clue if you needed help. So you sort of played this on hard mode. All right, what did you all think of that? I guess I could have done a little bit better. So we normally don't play with clues, but it does have a nice system where I could give you clues. The official rules using the app is like you're supposed to figure out one of these every 5 minutes, and if you don't get it, I can give you the clue. All right, do you want to play another one, or should we stop here? Marlene says, I love this game. Groot says, that's fun. You want to try a yellow one? All right. Groot says yes. Let's play again. Arsene says sure. Okay, so you're going to do a yellow one now. I still don't want to give you hints, but okay, here's your new one. Tiger. So he's got 3 yellow areas. The lock to the door to the tiger cage, the tiger himself, and his baseball cap. Okay, so Tiger is not the name of this guy. It's just a sign on the cage that says Tiger. His name is Aldous. So what are the 3 secrets held by Aldous? Now let me read the answer. Okay. Let the questions begin. Does he work for the zoo? Yes. Did he forget to lock the cage? No. Did he unlock the cage? I mean, that's a too ambiguous a question. You got to rephrase it. Did he steal the key for the cage? No. Did the tiger kill someone? Yes. Is he the lion tamer? No. Does he get into the cage to pet the tiger at night? No. Does he care for the tigers? Yes. Does he illegally own the tiger as a pet? No. I guess you've figured out one of the clues. Not really. No, you haven't. You haven't. Did he use the tiger to kill someone? Yes. Now you've sort of figured out something. Did the tiger kill his friend? Unknown. But he did use the tiger to kill someone. Did he let the tiger out of the cage? No. Does he want to kill the tiger? No. Did the hat come from the victim? No. Did he bring someone into the cage? I think that's a little ambiguous. Did he push someone into the cage? Probably not. Did he lock his victim inside the cage with the tiger? Yes. So all of the hedging around the previous question has been answered by this one. He locked his victim inside the cage. That is one of the things you figured out. Did he kill a teammate from his sports team? No. He locked the victim in the cage. You figured out one of his secrets. I guess you figured out this one. He's locked someone into the cage. Was the victim his boss? No. Did the hat belong to the victim? No. Did he hide the murder? In a way. Is there another hat inside the cage? Unknown and irrelevant, but it kind of looks like there is one here. Was the killing revenge for the victim stealing his hat? No. What do the rules say about the colors? It just says it goes from easy to hard. Did he kill a coworker from the zoo? Yes. Was the victim an adult? Yes. But he killed a coworker from the zoo. So you haven't found out another secret. You've just refined your first secret that you figured out about killing someone, locking someone in the cage. Now you know it was a coworker. Was the tiger starved beforehand to make sure you would kill the victim? Yes, and now you found the second secret. He deliberately starved the tiger to make sure he would kill the victim. That's a very sophisticated guess. Has he been fired from his job? Okay, so you found all of his secrets. Yes, and that's the answer to all the secrets. Was he dating the coworker? Unknown. But you figured the three out. Let's take a look at them together. That was quick. He was fired from the zoo and must leave at the end of the month. Hoping to keep his job, he didn't feed the tiger for days, then closed the cage while his colleague was inside so he would be devoured by the beast. So you're supposed to figure out that he has been fired or was told that he's about to be fired at the end of the month. And he deliberately didn't feed the tiger so the tiger would eat his colleague. Now, I took some liberty to assume that his colleague actually did die. And I suppose you have to take a little leap of logic here about why he thinks he's going to keep his job if his colleague gets eaten. But I guess the idea is they couldn't afford to lose him if the other guy got killed. But Melissa is asking the question that I asked myself, like, how does this get him to keep his job? But I guess you could imagine two ways. One, they would need him because the other guy who could do his job was killed, but maybe he just figured like the distraction would let them forget that they had fired him. All right, what do you think? You want to do another one? All right, Groot says yes. All right, we're going to do one more since you guys got that one easy. We're going to do a harder one. All right, we're going to move up to orange. Last one, though. This is your last one. All right, so here it is. The one you're going to do now is Ben. We've got an orange hook, an orange construction hat, and an orange wrist watch, it looks like. All right, let me read the secrets here that Ben is hiding. Okay, let the questions begin. Is Ben working at the construction site? Yes. Does he work at the construction site? Yes. Was the hook used to hand someone? Don't know what that means. Do you mean to hang someone? No, it wasn't used to hang someone. Has he buried someone? Yes, he has. Yes, he has buried someone. Is Ben the owner of the company? Yes, he is. So you've figured out one of the secrets. He has buried someone. Is the hat his? No. No or unknown irrelevant. Is that his hat or someone else's? I guess unknown and irrelevant. Feels like the green one was the hardest one. Getting easier. Is the watch from the person he buried? No. Is he covering up a death caused at work? Yes. Yes, he's covering up a death caused at work. Was the hook responsible for the death? Unknown and irrelevant. These are just symbolic, so don't get too tied to them. Don't think you have to have specific answers for these specific objects. They're just sort of metaphorically related to these stories. Did the hook hit someone in the head that killed them? Unknown and irrelevant. Was the death because the person did not wear their hat? Unknown and irrelevant. Weird that the shovel isn't colored as a secret if he buried someone. Again, that's why. Don't take these images and colored things as specific objects. Just take them as sort of metaphorical. It's one of the weird twists of this game. Has he been stealing from the company? No. In a sense, this subtle little detail about these colored objects being sort of metaphorical is actually one of the genius little subtle details of this game that makes it not too easy. Groot says, has he breached safety regulations which lead to the employee death? Yes. Groot, the answer to Groot is yes. DJ Moneycut, was the death an accident? Yes. Was the dead person stealing from the company? No. So you figured out the second secret. Arsene says, was Ben cutting costs to make more money? So those are all yeses, and those are the second secret. He's been cutting costs to make more money. He's breached safety regulations to make more money, which led to the employee death. So that's the second secret. Was the dead person stealing? No. I guess there is one more secret, technically. Is Ben hiding the death to avoid punishment? Yes. The only one left is the hook. No, that's not right. Your remaining secret is an odd one. Is he falsifying timesheets? In a way, this is a tricky thing, but I'm going to use my judgment to say that you have not figured out one of the secrets. It's a little tricky, though. But it is orange, so perhaps it should be tricky. But this is the one thing that makes it tricky about these games, when you don't know what's remaining. Is he using illegal workers? Yes. I think Arsene has figured it out. I think that's going to qualify as the third secret. Okay, let's take a look. Ben is the CEO of a small construction company who evades his taxes. His employees are low paid. He doesn't follow safety standards. Yesterday, an undeclared worker fell and died. In order to avoid trouble with the law, he buried the corpse under the building site. So you're supposed to figure out that he's evading taxes. That's because he's using illegal workers. He doesn't follow safety standards. That's, you figured out that he's breached safety regulations, which led to the death. And then you figured out early that he buried the dead worker. It's a little tricky. You got to use a little bit of judgment here, because this story, which is not technically part of the secret, sometimes gives extra information. Here we're told it's an undeclared worker. Here, it doesn't say that the players explicitly have to figure that out, but you are supposed to figure out that he's evading his taxes by messing with the books and not declaring all his workers, etc. But you did figure it out. The hook seems irrelevant. Well, look, you can see how metaphorical these are. The watch is just a clue that he's rich and he's buying things. And the hook is just supposed to be a clue that there's some danger going on. And the hat is just supposed to be a clue that there's a worker involved. Arsene says, I feel like the first one was the hardest by far. I agree with you. The first one seems harder than this one with the dead bodies. So I don't know how they decided what should be green and what should be orange. So we've made it to orange. The colors get into, after orange, there's a red. And then after red, there's a turquoise, and then a dark blue, and then a purple. So you have quite a bit left to go. And there's a whole big stack of these cards. So it's quite a generous set. Of course, you can only play it once. All right, so there you go. 3 secrets. We played 3 games of it today. We've played 2 in the past, so we're working our way through. I love this kind of game. I think I probably prefer the Crack the Case Black Stories ones. There's a bunch of other spin-offs as well, but they're all the same. But those are purely word games, which are nice because you can play them in the car or at a party with everyone sitting around. I guess you could do it here too, because these pictures are not really adding that much. But for the live stream, it's funny. In some ways, they're almost distractions. But you could convert this to words. If you wanted to play this game with someone and not have them look, you could just say there's a guy standing in front of a tiger's cage at a zoo. And you wouldn't have to mention anything about this. You wouldn't mention his hat. And it's sort of irrelevant to solving this. So you don't really need the pictures, but they add a little bit of flavor. Groot says, I like that. Very good for stretching the mind and bending rigid thoughts. Yeah, that's why I love this game, because it shows you how you get stuck. The mind perseverates on theories. It's very hard to break out of little local minima when you start thinking about one thing. It is good for a group. Someone comes up. Someone always figures something out. All right. We had fun today. I'll see you next Sunday where we read the 4th and final letter of clues in our Dear Holmes case. Maybe we'll play some more 3 clues. Maybe we'll make this a habit of playing 3 secrets after our Dear Holmes cases. Eliza says, this is a great game for a dinner party. I agree. I agree, and I'm sort of surprised at how well 3 secrets worked. I think there's another 3 secrets box. I'm not sure. But Black Stories can be bought on Amazon, and Crack the Case. There's another one too called 30-Second Mysteries. I think old. Crack the Case is very old. 30 Seconds Mysteries is as well. Okay. I'll see you next time.